All right, so in the comments, a lot of people didn't seem to understand why we pre-drill the sheets of steel. And I think it was, to me, it seems like kind of the normal thing to do, but I guess it's because I've done it my whole life. Maybe that's why. Yes, the screws, I will show you a screw. I got one right here. The screws are self-tapping. That's not the reason why we're doing it. This is a screw, and it has a self-tapping drill bit on it. That's not why. Even if it didn't have that, they have a sharp enough point. The ones I use in Canada do not have a self-tapping bit on them. Self-tapping bit is better when you're screwing into a steel framed structure, but when you're screwing into wood, it's actually not necessary, and you can push through the steel no problem. That's not why we do it. Speed, for one, it's a lot faster installing steel when it's already pre-drilled. There's no guessing. You just put the screw in the hole and go. The sheets that we would use in Canada are approximately 3 feet wide. Okay, so like 90 centimeters. These sheets are 115 centimeters wide. More than 3 feet, like 3.5, which when you're on a roof is a really far stretch. You can hardly reach. So to get into the lap edge, that's where the two sheets overlap each other. To screw that in with no hole already in it can be a real pain when you're leaning way out like that. The main reason I do it is because it looks better. If you look here, I don't know if you can tell, but all our screws are the exact same height. Perfect. Now that one's off a little bit for some reason, but bad example, but they are perfectly the same, which gives a beautiful overall uniform height. And we do the exact same thing for the roof. Now this particular roof design is different than what we typically use. But if you look at it on the ones that we would do, we normally screw on the ridge, not on the flat. I never screw on the flat. I always screw up on the hump. In Western Canada, I noticed that most of the guys screw it in the flat. In Ontario, everybody that I know screws it on the ridge. There's arguments for both ways, but basically the reason we would put it on the ridge is because it's less likely for it to leak. Water and ice might sit in the valleys and it may leak, but the guys in Western Canada do it like that all the time, and they don't have leaky roofs. It's not going to leak. The screws all have a little rubber washer. It's not really a good valid argument, but we do put them on the ridge, and we use longer screws. Now I could not do that here because these ridges are really tall and they're designed differently. If I was to put one in the middle of the ridge, it would end up just sinking it down. It's actually a lot of fun putting them on the flat. You don't have to worry about the sheets expanding as you're going. If the guy at the bottom is putting the screws tighter than the guys at the top, the sheets will end up going crooked on you. Okay, so it is nice to do it on the flat. But if you can look, you will see lines of screws perfectly lined up. They're all straight, so you can see straight runs of screws. So uniformly, look, does it really matter? Probably not, but you can see they're all straight, which gives a much more professional look. If you're up there and you don't have pre-drilled holes, or you're on a wall and you don't have pre-drilled holes, it's a bit of a guess, and it tends to be like this, up and down for your screws. It looks awful. If you don't care about that, it doesn't matter. But if you're charging a customer top dollar, putting up a building, you want to make sure everything is lined up and nice and beautiful. And there's no reason for the customer not to be happy paying his bill. The same thing on this wall, so bobbing around a little bit. If you can see the screws, all the lines are perfectly straight across. And that is the main reason for pre-drilling. It's easier, it's faster, way faster, and it looks much, much nicer. Yeah, it takes a few minutes to pre-drill it, but we're not pre-drilling one sheet at a time. In the case for the roof, I was doing about 20 sheets at once, all drilled the exact same. And what you can do then is take one of those sheets and set it on the next stack and do another 20. You can do more. I've done as many as probably 40 or 50 sheets at once, but it's quite a stack. It tends to break drill bits a little easier. And in this case, I only did 20 at a time because that's all I needed to put up at that time. So that's the main reasons for pre-drilling. Looks better, gives an overall good look. This is just about getting wrapped up here. We got to finish one more sheet, and then this side is also done and ready to roll. Now the window layout's a little bit funny here, and that's because this first portion is going to be a milk house, and I'm going to put a milk tank right here, so there's no reason to have a window. I wouldn't mind having a vent for the hot air from the cooling unit, but we're not talking a lot of cows, and for right now it'll be okay. This is enough room right now to tie up 6 cows with ease, and eventually we can add on to that. This side here is done, other than the doors still. I'm waiting for those. And then inside, we're going to dig that dirt out of there today, I think. It's supposed to rain today. Otherwise, I would like to get the garden. I got to get a lot of work done in that garden yet. It's supposed to rain, so we're going to work in the shop. And we'll get all that dirt dug out and get ready for concrete in there. And also for putting the second floor in this particular part. And then at some point, we got to close in the gable end here yet as well. And the one on the other side. But yeah, all in all, looking very good. They're moving the chickens slowly. I think this might work. I believe there's still chickens sitting in there laying eggs right now. Whoa, there goes the back wall. Is it falling out?
The string so it doesn't, the sled doesn't slide off, or west poles. But one chicken's left in here, laying an egg. Eventful birth, I would say.
Well, that's one way to move it. Now we gotta patch it back up. It's actually not too bad. Just a couple of screws came loose. We actually had a big windstorm that knocked some of those out a while back, so now it'll be time to fix it up. Chickens will have a new spot a little bit farther from the house, a little bit more grass to eat here. So far this is working out pretty good, and hopefully we'll have some room for them in here very soon. Time has come, ladies and gentlemen. We are using it. We did practice a little bit on that side, a little bit on this side. This is the first straight row we did. Anissa kind of wanted to go around the hydro poles. I would not recommend doing that. Again, it doesn't work. Straight lines is best because the equipment's bolted to the back end. But it seemed like a shame to miss all that dirt, so the idea was to kind of cut in and get some of that. But anyway, we're leaving a large swath here to be able to drive around with the tractor, and now we're going to try to put them closer together. And we'll be planting in these. There is also drip tape in there. You can see it sticking out here. We're getting ready for our second run here now. Wes will try to film it as I go. And we're going to fill this whole field up with plastic. We're also going to be doing a bunch down there later on as well. Windy, but try to run this through you or to you. So in the front there we've got a fertilizer box. They don't all come like this. I ordered it this way, but they have a bunch of different attachments and they have a bunch of different machines. There's their phone number again. You want to give them a holler, and that's the name of the business. You can find them online, gasparagro.ru. And they have a bunch of different options, different machines. This is kind of how we wanted it set up. Essentially, we're going to have this. I ran out of plastic here, but Essentially, we're going to have the whole field full of strips of plastic. This really cuts down on weeds. I hope it's not too windy for you, but it really cuts down on weeds. Is one reason why we love working with plastic. The other thing is that it heats up the soil. The sunshine on here now really heats it up. So ideally, if you can get this down in the fall, in the springtime, this soil is ready to go much sooner. It doesn't work out that way always, and it didn't work out that way for us this year, but next year we might. And you don't necessarily have to use this as single use. You could leave it down for next year, depending on what you're planting in it. And the main thing is weeding. That's always a chore when it comes to gardening, is pulling all the weeds out. And when you're gardening in plastic, that eliminates most of the weeds. Now we have clear plastic as well as black. This is black plastic. It's not very thick. Pretty thin. But we have clear as well. And with the clear, that's where the seed drill comes in. And you could use it regardless. You could use it just as a seed drill. But the idea is to plant underneath the clear plastic. That allows the seeds to germinate, and they'll still come up. And basically they'll be in their own little greenhouse underneath this plastic. And they can stay like that for quite a while. Eventually you can cut holes in here and let the plant come out. So something like corn, let's say sweet corn, sometimes there's a very tight window. Where we lived before, the season's almost too short for it. And so by being able to do it in plastic, you can get ahead of the frost. You can plant a little bit earlier in the year. You don't have to worry about frost because it's all covered. The other thing we're doing is running drip tape in here. So we've got drip tape holders. We could run 2 sets of drip tape. We decided we're going to go with 1 this year and try it. We've never had drip tape before, so we're just going to try it out and see how well it works. Maybe we need 2, maybe we need 1. I really don't know. They got these little tubes to run them down in. What we did find is if you're not standing on it on the end, the drip tape just didn't want to roll very well, and the drip tape was actually following us. So it was important for Wes to stay back there and stand on it. The roll sits on here, wraps underneath the logs. We've got this roller on the front first, and then you've got these. These are cut in a little groove, not very big. The tire then sits in that groove, and the plastic comes just back. I'll show you again later when we put a new load or a new roll on. But the plastic sits underneath each tire. There's one on both sides. So you're going to cut a groove here, open it up. Plastic sits underneath here, and then this disc throws the dirt back on top of the plastic, meaning your edges are covered. And so we used to do this all by hand, and it's a lot of work. First you got to dig a trench, then you got to cover all the ends up. Now we did one great big piece. We didn't do little strips, but still it's a lot of work. And you can set it for different widths. There is different size rolls. This is what we went with this year. Like I said, that's a seed drill. It's capable of multiple seeds, and it runs on vacuum. It's a vacuum seed drill. I didn't fully understand this. I talked to the manufacturer of the seed drill itself later on, and he kind of explained it better to me. But this basically, you run a hose from here to the muffler of your tractor, and as the exhaust runs through, it creates a vacuum in a special attachment. And the hose actually goes to that attachment, not to the muffler. And it basically creates a vacuum in this tank, and then a little hose goes from here down to the seed drill. Okay, and essentially that part doesn't matter. What it's doing is creating a vacuum, and you have a round disc there going around in circles, and it's got little holes in it. And so the vacuum's on one side of the disc, the seeds are on the other side of the disc. And so the vacuum is actually sucking seeds to the hole. Only one seed, of course, will go to that hole. There's specific discs for specific crops. And so one seed gets stuck to the hole, and this disc turns around. Eventually it gets to a point where there's no vacuum on the other side of the seed, and the seed drops down. And so the size of the holes determines what seeds you can use, and then the spacing between the holes determines how far apart your crop's going to be. It's actually a beauty system. I'd never really thought about it, never heard of it. So that's what this guy does. He's got a large seed hopper. There's some of the discs here. I haven't used this yet. I don't know if we will this year or not, but it's a nice bucket. I really like the plastic bucket. And then this is the fertilizer bucket, in case you want to use that. This is that other hose. And right now we're not using any of this either, but eventually I would like to. And so the option is there. I guess technically you could probably run this machine without this front part and just hook this onto your tractor. Can't see why that wouldn't work. Or you could probably use this one without that one if you want to use just as a seed drill. There's piles of adjustments. It took us a while to get it figured out where it's working good for us now. I'm happy the way it's covering up the plastic. Anissa and I were really fighting with it over here. You know, change this, change that, change this, change that. But we've got it to the point where I think it's working really good for us right now, and we don't need to change it. The other thing you can use for spacers is this guy. This will fold down. Maybe. There it goes. And it'll scratch a groove in the dirt. Okay, and then that'll tell you where you can drive the next time if you want it, and you can adjust that. What I'm doing is I'm just putting the tractor tires as close as I can to this plastic, and that's giving me a nice walkway in between. Wheelbarrow will fit in there, a little cart for picking crops. We can walk between easily enough. Lots of room. So as close as I can get, and therefore I don't need this guide for what I'm doing. Now, Wes just went to get another roll of plastic. Here he's coming, and we'll get that loaded on now. So Wes got the drip tape pulled through. That's one thing I was going to show you is the drip tape itself. It's just a little plastic, really flimsy stuff, really, and that's because it's kind of almost like single use. It's got little spray spots here where the water can get out. It doesn't really spray, I guess it drips out, and it's a little hose, very flat, flimsy. Not a lot of PSI goes on there, but you put some water pressure in it. This is what we're trying now so it doesn't run away on us. Not sure how far he's planning on putting that. Somebody in Canada is getting it in their front yards popping up right now. What's with this drip tape? Yeah, so now we're going to run this poly through. Gonna run it, pull it down, go underneath that tube. Kind of hard to do this while holding the camera, but and then under the tire. And Wes is getting that one to that tire. And then I like to throw some lumps of dirt. Unfortunately, we couldn't get a rototiller any better. We were having some troubles with the tractor and the rototiller. And anyway, it's pretty clumpy, but it'll work. It'll be all right. Everything will be okay. So throw a few clumps on there to keep it from blowing away. And then we will get started. Wes is just setting up for the second row, or for another row. Now, if you had a longer field, this obviously would not have to happen as often. Just putting the edges of the plastic under the tires. This one under that tire. Good. And now we're going to cut the plastic off and finish the rope. Cutting the drip tape. And that should be it. Just listening to all the birds chirping. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's another reason I love this time of year. It's wonderful. Alright, another day is come and gone. It is getting dark out. It's not terribly dark yet, but sun is gone over the horizon. So we've got quite a bit of plastic in here. This front part we're leaving open because we would like to plant beans in here, bush beans. We absolutely love bush beans. And so we're leaving the first, 8 meters or so. It's supposed to be 10 meters, but it doesn't look like 10 meters anymore. And we're going to leave it open along the front, and we'll plant it with beans, maybe a few other things. But we decided to run the drip tape through so we can still irrigate with that. And the main idea was to have the line, main poly line coming down here along the side of the fence here where we have the trees. We'll probably run a drip tape for those as well, and then come down here and they'll be able to tee off into all these lines. I'll have kind of a main line running through here, so hopefully that works. Like I said, I've never done this before, the drip tape, that is. We've done sided plastic, but we've never drip tape, so hopefully it works out well for us. I think it will. Tomorrow we'll finish it up, and yeah, then I'm going to do a few over there as well. There's another garden across the lane that we've got tilled up. We're going to plant quite a few potatoes in there, kartoffels, and carrots. I cannot think of the Russian word for carrot right now. Anyway, we'll be putting them over there as well. And maybe some beets too, I'm not sure. And I would like to try planting some sweet corn, actually. I love sweet corn as well. And then the rest of it is actually our apple orchard. We're going to be planting a lot of trees. Long term, probably all of it will. We won't be able to afford as many trees as we'd like this year. But we're going to, well, I don't know, probably plant, it's hard to say, 75 trees there maybe. We'll see how many trees we can get. And that'll be good for now. 3 years from now, we'll have a bountiful harvest there. Everything coming together. Lots of work getting done. Really happy with how it's working. Like I said, it took a little bit of time to get it set up. Just because you got to have the tire in the right spot and stuff, but now it's working really good. And we got a bit of a system working. Wes is staking down the drip tape when we get started and then going. So yeah, very happy. If you like it, there will be another video coming tomorrow. We'll try to make a better video, get more, just how it's going and stuff. Eventually I'd like to do one on this using the seed or two. I'm not using it right now. I will use it for sweet corn yet this year. I don't know if anything else. We'll see how it goes. So, but if you're interested, there's their email or website, I guess. You can contact them. And like I said, they have a couple of different options as well. It's not just this style. They have a ridge forming one. They have one that has a rototiller in front of it and a ridge forming for like strawberries or stuff. A couple of different options. Give them a call. All right. Hope you enjoyed it. A little mix of everything in this video. So God bless you. We'll catch you on another one.
As the leaves change color.